5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
This is the Culture Clash.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of Culture Clash here on the Fandom Podcast Network. It's been a few weeks, but we are back, and we have a fun show for you tonight. We want to thank you all for joining us. We are continuing our spotlight on time travel with this episode, and what all my co-hosts don't know is one of them is going to get Freejacked before the end of this episode. So, yeah, we are covering the 1992 classic. Well, maybe classic. We're going to discuss that. Freejack with Emilio Estevez and yes, Mick Jagger, as well as a whole bunch of other people. But you know, I need extra to help me with this because time travel alone is always a risky proposition. And first and foremost, I think he just got done racing a couple of laps or eating some crazy looking stew or river rat, but he's always game for being here on the Culture Clash. He is my brother from another mother, the co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, one and only Mr. Kevin Reitzel.
Don't bad talk the river rat. That is some good tasting, man. Here we are. Freejacking it, baby. Ready. What's up, buddy?
I am doing well. This is going to be a fun episode, but you know what? We can't talk about movies without having the queen of movie food here. And
it's true.
I know for a fact she has caught more Freejacks than Mick Jagger ever will.
That's a bold statement there, Cotton.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But that is, of course, the one and only Miss Lacey Adderhold.
Hello.
Lacey, hold up your DVD that you're holding. So you got the same one I have, right? The old school.
Yes.
All right, wait, hold on. Okay? Well, you got a cameo there appearance, but yeah. I just want to mention real quick. So the DVD, I'm glad you didn't pull out some fancy new Blu-ray of this because I don't know if one exists.
Yeah,
I don't think it has a Blu-ray. I don't think it has.
Okay. Before we go any further, we have Lacey has a special guest with her making her first ever appearance because we have Tummy and Stripesy, the official podcast mascots. But yeah, this is Pumpkin, our Halloween kitty.
Here, instead of lifting her up, I could just.
That is an adorable kitty. Look at that.
Yeah.
Hey, Pumpkin, welcome to the Fandom Podcast Network Live.
And for those of you who are wondering, Pumpkin is a Munchkin kitty, which means she's got those cute little short legs.
Aww. Yes, she's just a baby.
But don't let her fool you. She's got some serious catitude, and I know she's got a few Freejacks herself in her lifetime.
Yes,
catitude.
She definitely has some catitude. And I just took off her bell so that we won't be listening to her all day.
Look out. So, guys, without further ado, so let's get things rolling here. Of course, we are talking Freejack here on Culture Clash, which is, of course, the flagship show of the Fandom Podcast Network. They're home for all things happening in fandom news, reviews, and whatever crazy stuff we can find. Speaking of stuff on the Fandom Podcast Network, Kevin, coming soon and just arrived to the Fandom Podcast Network. We've been busy around here of late. First and foremost, we are starting our coverage of James Cameron. Throughout the rest of this year, we're going to be peppering in some James Cameron films because for the first time ever, we have James Cameron's films on 4K, Kevin.
Yeah, 4K, Blu-ray, digital. It's great. And we wanted to showcase these new releases. And, of course, one of our favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger films, True Lies. We three of us all had a good time chatting with that. That is out there, and we talk about special features on there. It's a really good documentary about the making of, including I think a 2012 interview with the late great Bill Paxton as well, and his experience working on the film. Really, really good. Check it out. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. Lacey, you were on that too. You haven't rode any horses into elevators lately, have you?
No. I did ride a hobby horse into my backyard, though.
Okay.
It's the same.
Yeah. Same thing.
Technically, it was.
By the way, we are being joined by the amazing Lethal Mullet, and it's good that he's here because in a few minutes we are going to be talking about the Lethal Mullet. But we appreciate that, and we got something very special planned with the Lethal Mullet which will be coming very soon. We're going to talk about that here shortly. But other things happening on the Fandom Podcast Network, a new Couch Potato Theater that just released today. And Kevin, you had to round up the hair metal crew for this one.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. This was a special request by my buddy Mike, who is the co-host of our hair metal podcast on the Fandom Podcast Network. And we got one of our friends that are part of the Hair Metal Council, his friend Nez, which is a coworker of his, and another coworker of his who knows a lot about film. And he was his name was Bobby. And so we had a lot of fun going down the rabbit hole that is Spinal Tap, which I think we agree falls under the category of perfect films. And I'm not going to say what they are now, but I had two huge hot takes of this film. One having to do with a former drummer that Ed Begley Jr. played, and also Nigel Tufnell. I'll just leave it at that.
By the way, the Lethal Mullet is dropping. Go on the Facebook feed for Lethal Mullet and our Fandom Podcast Network. Adam did Freejack several years ago on the Lethal Mullet, and
that was a good one.
Out of the archives. So if you want a little bit more of the mulleted side of Freejack, go dig into the Lethal Mullet archives. There's a link here in this post. We'll leave that up for just a moment here. But yeah, we got fun things too, Kevin. You're doing something very special over at Union Federation.
Oh yeah, totally. One thing that we wanted to do with Union Federation is return to Star Trek: The Next Generation, and we decided to highlight the 8 2-part episodes that happened throughout the 7-season series, and they became major events. Of course, the first one with Best of Both Worlds, and we just finished up the 8th one, which was Gambit Part 1 and 2, and we're going to be doing one more podcast. We're going to be wrapping it all up, talking about the IMDb reviews, our personal reviews, but we're also going to be discussing, go one more there, Kyle. We're also going to be discussing in the last episode, 198, our other favorite Star Trek 2-part episodes from the other Star Trek series, whether it's TOS, Voyager, Enterprise, and Deep Space Nine and stuff. So, and I think we're also going to have a shout out to Discovery as well. So make sure you check that out. That's going to be coming out soon.
Yep. And it's been a lot of fun. Definitely check those out. Of course, we have Time Warp going on. We just recently put out September Time Warp. Where we're going to be also recording October here shortly.
Yeah.
We got some strange movies ahead, don't we?
Oh yeah, October's interesting. We have that. We're going to be recording that soon. Make sure you check that out. Of course, the biggest movie that came out in October, of course, was Terminator, and my wife and I saw it on the big screen with a full orchestra earlier this year in Australia. But I just got to give a shout out to this film right here, "The Perils of Gwendolyn in the Land of Yik Yak." Yeah. We're going to be discussing this very, very weird film. So make sure you check out Time Warp coming out soon of October.
And I just want to say September 2 might as well have been a tribute to Canon Films.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, we had some Canon love there with Ninja 3 and stuff like that. So, yeah.
And our What a Piece of Junk, our Star Wars podcast, is back. They did a special episode tribute to James Earl Jones, as well as talking some of the first looks we've seen over the last few weeks of Skeleton Crew. A very interesting Star Wars project coming out in December. I'm still not quite sure what to make of that, but you guys,
I'm excited. It looks fun.
I'm still kind of trying to process Star Wars suburbs myself, but that's quite all right. And speaking of the Lethal Mullet himself, he has just put out his most recent episode this week, covering The Abyss. I'm going to tease that a little bit more here in just a little bit, but the Mullet is back on the Fandom Podcast Network. He also has another project coming out involving something called Warhammer, and we're going to put the first episode of that out very shortly too. So if you're into the gaming side of things or looking for a really good science fiction gaming universe, the Mullet's going to be bringing the war and the hammer, and it's going to be
looking forward to his Aussie take on that episode.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. And speaking of The Abyss, yes, we talked about it earlier. We're doing movies of James Cameron. The Mullet I'm trying to pull him back in from deep in the abyss to join myself, Kevin, and Lacey, as we are going to be doing Couch Potato Theater, The Abyss. I'm going to be honest with you, The Abyss might be my second all-time James Cameron film, but this is going to be a very interesting podcast because this movie has a lot of interesting history to it and a lot of interesting things. And
extended or regular theatrical? What do you prefer?
Truthfully, I prefer the extended because I think the extended really adds to it. But either way, this movie has such interesting history with the original version, the extended version, and the technology and the stories of filming of this movie. So when this Couch Potato Theater comes out, I promise you it's going to be one you're not going to want to miss, because we got a lot of fun stories to tell about that. Plus the mullet's going to be on it. What more do you need?
There you go.
Come on. And of course, too, we are back with True Believers because the MCU is back, Kevin. We have been having a blast covering Agatha all along.
Yeah, a lot of fun, and we're gonna have my buddy Kat Cedar coming on for a few episodes as well. He's a big Marvel dude. He's enjoying the show, and it's a fun take on the Marvel universe here with Agatha. And I got to tell you, I'm really digging Catherine in this series. She's awesome.
She is a force in nature in this series without a doubt.
I would legitimately watch her read a phone book. She is so engaging no matter what she plays, comedy, action, horror, drama. Like she amazing. I love her.
A lot of people mostly know her through her comedy, but she's done some really good drama, and we're seeing a little bit of that in this. So I'm enjoying this series.
Yeah, to me, this could be a break. I mean, a lot of people know her, but I think this might be a really big breakout thing for her too, for a whole new group of people. So we're having a ton of fun with it. Kevin, do you have enough hair for hair metal?
No, we don't. We're having a lot of fun. We're going to be recording this next week. Hair Metal Podcast 26, VH1's Top 40 Hair Bands was a special that came out in 2001, hosted by Dee Snider. We're going to be reviewing that 40 hair bands. It was a special that came out in 2001, hosted by feedback there. Who's that? Sorry about that. Yeah, a lot of fun. Special that we did there for VH1. We're going to be discussing that, but we're going to having a little fun though. After we discuss all those top 40s, my Hair Metal Council is all going to come back on for this podcast, and we're going to be discussing our own top 10 using what I call the sleaze meter. We're going to choose these top 10 most sleazy hair metal bands, the one that really define the term hair metal when that phrase came out in the 90s, why hair metal band is a hair metal band. And I just want to show you real quick. I'm going to tease this. This is the original VHS tape that I recorded in 2001 of that special with all of the commercials on it.
Kevin, do you have the tab broken on that so you can't record over it?
No, I don't. Do you think I should? Do you think I should pull the tab right now? You think I should?
It might never work again if you do that at this point.
I'll save that for the Hair Metal Podcast. So make sure you guys check that out later on. We're going to choose the bands that defined the term hair metal. So yeah, that is going to be awesome. Now, Kevin, I do have one important question about that too. Since it is a kind of tying into a VH1 thing, are you going to be podcasting voice? Or are you going into the VH1 series inside the music commentator voice for that? No, I think I'll leave that to the Hair Metal Council, my guest that'll be on there talking about this stuff. So yeah.
Oh, okay. The mullet chiming in again. I should have the Metallica Live in Brisbane from 1996 on VHS.
Adam just reminded me of something, Adam. Thank you. That's actually impressive. We actually had a fun little thing happen with the Spinal Tap CPT, where we said which real bands out there are the most Spinal Tap. And I found a great Reddit thread, and we picked what band that we thought felt like they were like the real life Spinal Tap from all the crap they've gone through. So make sure you tune into that.
Absolutely. It's going to be a blast. Spinal Tap. Yeah. These guys on Spinal Tap, look out. Check it out. Go watch it on the YouTube channel. Listen to it on the feed. But guys, too, we have some news to cover as well, because it's been not so great a few weeks. We've got some legends we need to talk about here. So, ladies and gentlemen,
we lost some legends. Let's just say it. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen,
let's news.
Yep, it is time for some news, and guys, we're going to go right into it. We've got some people. It's been a rough couple weeks for Hollywood. We got some people who we want to make sure we recognize while we have the moment. And of course, Kevin, we talked about it earlier with What a Piece of Junk. They did their own tribute, but we wanted to make sure we talked about the great and legendary James Earl Jones. Obviously, for so many of us, the voice of Darth Vader and the man who, or the proudest James Earl Jones. You hear that voice, that's Darth Vader. But just a phenomenal actor for his time. Lacey, you are our queen of movie foo. I want you to tell us some of your favorite James Earl Jones characters or roles that have stood out for you.
Yeah, I mean, he's done, I mean, you know, come on, he's Mufasa and he's done so many things, but I gotta tell you, his portrayal of himself on The Big Bang Theory, prank, you know,
I like Star Wars too.
Yeah, like the whole ding dong ditch thing where she comes running out the end with a baseball bat, like that is just, I absolutely love it. Adam, you're right. Love Field of Dreams. He's been in so many. I mean, he's so amazing in everything he does. But yeah, for me, I think one of my absolute favorites is just because he was playing himself, and I don't think that's too far away from him in real life. Like he's just seems like just a genuinely like happy and jovial man. So yeah, that's one of my favorites.
It's not funny anymore, James. Then why am I laughing so much? That's a great episode of Big Bang. Yeah. I love that one.
Okay, Kevin. So what about you? Obviously, Vader was our love of Star Wars, but what else from James Earl Jones that stands out for you?
There's two for me. I'm not gonna. Obviously his voice for Mufasa, and it just hit a generation. But the two movies are the movies that really jumped out for me. Field of Dreams was great too, but I loved him in Coming to America as the dad. I especially when he arrives to kind of in New York to kind of try to figure out what the hell his son Eddie Murphy's character is up to. It looked awesome too. But I really, really loved him in the Jack Ryan movies, where he's Jack Ryan's boss. You know, started with The Hunt for Red October, and then it carried through the Harrison Ford versions. I really, really liked him in those roles, and I've seen him in so much stuff. But I like that he was kind of like the friend that helped him and through those Jack Ryan movies and stuff like that. Those are the ones that really stood out for me. What about you, Kyle?
I think for me, I mean, there's so many. When I think of James Earl Jones, I mean, he defined major characters for generations. I mean, obviously Darth Vader, Mufasa, so many things. The thing I loved about James Earl Jones is he never took himself too seriously, and he would take some roles that were a little out there. And one of the roles that it always stands out to me because he's got this crazy hairstyle and he's wearing these crazy outfits was the Robert Townsend superhero movie Meteor Man.
Oh God, yeah.
And just the hairdo alone he had for that.
I get it, just because you put it you showed the chat up there, but yeah, obviously in Conan the Barbarian, in that role as well, that Adam mentioned here, great mention on that one, yeah.
And of course, with you two both having a long time in Atlanta, of course, James Earl Jones was the voice for forever of CNN.
That's right.
Yes.
This is CNN.
And they have a thing right now where if you have the app, you can actually turn on the voice. So they added it so that every time you plug in the app, it says it has him saying it.
That's really cool. That I think this was a smart thing that he did was like he also gave up he sold the rights, I guess, to Lucasfilm Disney to still use his voice after. And he did this before he passed away because he knew that he wasn't going to be able to do the voice anymore. And he still kept doing Darth Vader voices through some of the animated stuff. And so I like the fact that he's like, you know what, I'm going to let you guys have it. You know, you can keep my voice and synthesize it however you need to for any future Vader stuff. And I thought that was a really cool thing that he did that.
In fact, if I remember correctly, while they were doing Obi-Wan and he was doing some of the voice work for Obi-Wan, he actually went to Lucasfilm or Disney or whatever and spent like 3 days just recording stuff. So they have it in their bank so they can computer generate it and put that out there. So
what a legend. What a legend.
Yeah, I'm a legend, a class act, and everything.
And he used to stutter. It's a famous story. He used to stutter. He didn't, he was very self-conscious about talking. And now he's one of the most iconic voice actors of all time.
Yep.
Well, one thing you can say for sure about him is he did go the distance.
Lacey.
Do you want me to hit my CNN app?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay, let's see if we can get it close enough to my microphone.
This is CNN.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
God, that's awesome.
We'll
Rest
turn it
in
off
peace,
before it starts
James.
Covering politics real quick. I got to turn the volume back off.
Well, unfortunately, James was not the only legend we've lost in the last few weeks. To Dame Maggie Smith passed away. Obviously, for a whole generation, Harry Potter. For another generation, too, Downton Abbey and her role in Downton Abbey. Professor McGonagall and Harry Potter.
What was her name, Kyle, in Downton Abbey?
I am
the Dowager.
Yeah.
That's one of the series I want to dive into, but I've never done. But I want to.
It's a very cute series, and actually, I can see why a lot of Maggie Smith. She actually played Violet Crawley and Dowager Countess.
She was the Dowager Countess.
Yes,
that was her title.
So,
I think she'll mostly be known for, of course, as Professor McGonagall, the head of Gryffindor. She was fantastic. She could transform into a cat. Just always on the good side of magic. We loved her. Rest in peace.
Going back a little farther, I remember her from Sister Act.
And really, she was in that? Oh my god!
Yeah, she was one of the nuns in Sister Act.
And
funny.
If you've never seen, well, she's done so many things. Room with a View, Gospel Park. She's been in a ton of like upstairs, downstairs type stuff. But if you get a chance to watch, there's a documentary called Tea with the Dames, where it's Dame Judi Dench, obviously Dame Maggie Smith, Dame Helen. Wait, is it? Hold on, it's let me look this.
Helen Mirren, is she a dame?
No, I don't. Well, I think Helen Mirren is a dame, but she's not in the documentary. It's for the four women they all came up together, and they were basically always kind of competing for the same parts.
Gotcha.
And it is fantastic because they are some saucy broads.
Oh, I bet. Can you imagine being behind the scenes of that special?
Yeah, they start talking about like Lauren. They start telling stories that one of them was married to Laurence Olivier. Like it's a fantastic. It's like an hour and 40 minutes.
It's called what again?
Tea with the Dames.
Tea with the Dames. Okay.
Yeah. And what was the other? Oh, the hotel, the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel.
Oh yeah.
So great. Yeah. So great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tea with the Dames. I brought that up on IMDb here. Mm-hmm. Maggie Smith, Ellen Akins, Judi Dench, Joan Plowright. Eileen Atkins, Robert Altman is in there as well. Wow. John Gielgud, Julian Glover, Laurence Olivier. Wow, that's cool. Vanessa Redgrave too.
Right, but keep in mind it's Joan Plowright and Eileen. It's just the four women. So the other people who are in that are it's like archival. Right, so they talk about stories, and they show photos and videos and stuff of what they're talking about, and it's just a lovely. They meet at one of their homes and they have tea in the garden, and then they just sit and talk about like all the old stories and all the things, and they're just a sassy group of ladies, and it's just delightful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Maggie Smith.
Kevin, I have a question for you. Are you on the rubber duck? Are you on? Is your handle ready? Because we also lost the amazing Chris Christopherson, and it's so. I
think Kyle's trying to make a reference to the movie Convoy, right?
Yes.
I'll be Pigpen. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, there we go. Obviously, for a whole generation, Whistler from Blade.
Mm-hmm.
That's where a lot of people know him. But the '70s remake of A Star Is Born, Convoy is a cult classic for a lot of people. Obviously,
Chris Christopherson.
Well. Yeah, Chris Christopherson. An amazing music career as well.
Yeah, I was going to say a founding member of the Highwaymen.
Yeah,
yes.
That's a classy act, literally.
Also too a great and we talked about him in our podcast for Couch Potato Theater for Payback, where he was in the they redid the ending of that film and put him in it to play like the lead boss villain in this. And he just came in for, a quick 10-15 minutes and killed it. It was awesome. But a lot of people, of course, know him through his earlier films and, of course, his music, as Lacey, of course, alluded to. But I think younger fans probably don't know him as a country singer, mostly in his films and stuff. But one of his most famous, of course, is Convoy, with a great soundtrack and, leading that convoy, the rubber ducky, everything. That was just a classic film.
And he also played Dolly Parton's husband in Joyful Noise with it was like Queen Latifah and Adam. Well, it's got a huge cast, but
I never saw that. I bet they made a good couple.
They did, and it was very sweet. And it was it's kind of a little bit on the religious side. No trigger, whatever. Just in case you're not religious, but it's a very sweet story. It's about a disagreement between choir directors as to how they should handle things. So yeah, it's interesting, and it's a sweet movie.
Yeah. Well, continuing on, because but the great John Amos, and of course, forever. If you were from the 70s, you obviously remember him from Roots. You remember him from Good Times. Maybe some of you remember him from Coming to America, McDowell's.
Yes.
It's the Beastmaster.
Yeah, that too.
Beth from the Beastmaster. Oh.
And I was always a John Amos fan. I remember growing up watching like reruns of Good Times when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Good Times, yeah.
What about you, Kevin? What are some memories of John Amos?
I remember him in Good Times. I watched that show all the time, and I remember him in Coming to America. And then he turned villain in Die Hard 2.
Yes,
I remember that. He played one of the bad guys, and he was really good in that. It wasn't a large role, but it was impactful. I remember that. And it's been a while. I don't remember him in Lockup, but I need to rewatch that film. But John Amos, just what a classic. I think he had his own TV series too, if I remember correctly. Is that right? That came out later.
He might have. Yeah, late, like in the 80s, I think he might have.
But let's not forget, he played Uncle Burton Guster on Psych. Like he played Gus's uncle for a minute. That was real fun. I think he's another one who just, he didn't take himself too seriously. He liked to kind of dip his toe into little things here and there, and he's another one I'm really gonna miss.
Yeah.
He was also the Reverend in Ricochet. That's what I remember.
Right. Yeah,
yes,
that's right.
Yeah, the Denzel Washington film. Yeah.
And of course, too, lastly, John Ashton, a amazing character actor. One of those actors, he pops up in everything, but I think we will all agree the role that we were Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, it was really nice that he made the recent sequel with Judge Reinhold for the new Beverly Hills Cop movie. And Lacey, you just dropped some knowledge on me that when he passed away, what happened?
Apparently, well, and I mean, this is on the internet, so it's obviously true, right? So let's go ahead and take that with a grain of salt. But Judge Reinhold had posted his kind of, memory, and he had said, I don't know if it was Twitter or Facebook, but he said that he had been with him the night before, and they had watched a ball game. I don't know enough about games to know which one he was talking about. He did mention teams, but I couldn't tell you. And that he was just in good spirits, and he was just kind of quiet, and that it was really good to have been with him recently, and to make them just go and search online and see. It was a very sweet, touching memory for him. It was very sweet.
It's awesome.
I think the thing too, when we're talking about all of these people who we, especially of our age, know from certain roles and stuff, they all are people that had a powerful voice. James Earl Jones, obviously, with what he did. John Amos doing Roots and just his things he did within civil rights. Dame Maggie Smith is just classic. Chris Christopherson, I mean, that was somebody you just hear his voice on the screen and you knew who it was, and you turned around to watch it. And so there's so much with these actors, and I think this is, we're kind of starting to see more actors that we grew up with in our generation, guys, starting to age, and it'll learn, unfortunately, pass away. But I think in their own right, each of these actors have carved out their own legendary piece in Hollywood. And I think that's why it was just like when we were hearing these deaths in the news, it was like, really, who's next? Who's next? Who's next? And it just was a lot at once. And just you have so many good memories of watching these people do that.
And we know there are some other celebrities that passed away. It just felt like it was just happening all at once. But we wanted to highlight the ones that obviously have a certain niche in fandom that we obviously cover here on the Fandom Podcast Network. But it's been a tough few weeks for losing some of our greats.
For me, John Ashton was Eric Stoltz's dad in Some Kind of Wonderful.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
that grumpy, crusty, like we're going to like that. That was where I kind of think I first saw him, because I didn't see the Beverly Hills Cop stuff until later. So yeah. Anyway.
Well, guys, just thank all of them for all their contribution. Go watch one of their movies. Give them tribute. Go watch one of their movies. But we have other things to get to as well here, because we might be done with the news, but we have seen a few things as well. So once again, it is time to buy it, stream it, or unsee it. That's right. It's time for some fandom new reviews here, and we've seen a few things. We've got a few things here for some things we're going to preview. We got a nice mix here of everything that's going on. And first up, spoiler alerts, because we are going to be talking about some of these things. We might get a little spoilerific. So if we mention a title you haven't seen or something you want to check out, you want to go in fresh, step away for a few minutes, come back, rejoin us here on the live feed on YouTube, and enjoy the ride. But first up to Kevin, Letterboxd, our good friends over there. You have a little funny story about Letterboxd telling me.
So yeah, I'm currently at 301 movies so far this year of the calendar year of 2024, since starting on January 1st, 2024. And you'd made an offhanded comment about, Kevin, your 300 film should be the movie 300, right? So I forgot I had it on DVD, but I found like a cheap copy on Blu-ray. I realized I didn't own it. And I was planning on doing that. I actually wanted to do a double feature, and I still will, of 300 and then Meet the Spartans. I thought that'd be a fun one. But I got so busy like catching up on films for our upcoming podcast, including this one here with Freejack. Also, of course, with not more importantly, but also for Time Warp. And I lost count of the films I was watching. It turned out my 300th film was The Perils of Gwendolyn and the Land of Mick Jagger. Which we're going to discuss on Time Warp, which is one of the weirdest films I've seen. And I watched it for the first time, and woof, boy, that was an interesting film. But anyway, yeah, so I thought I had to share that with you. I thought that was funny.
Nice.
That is good. But we are ready to talk about our first thing. It's actually something, Lacey, you're bringing to the table, and it's actually something I do want to watch. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts about this, because we all know we have the James Gunn Superman film coming, and a lot of people are very excited about that. But for a lot of people, there's only one true Superman, and that is Christopher Reeve. Yeah. And they just put out this documentary that is getting a lot of praise, Lacey, about Christopher Reeve, him as a person, his time as Superman, and so much more. And I know you're a Christopher Reeve fan, so I'm going to give you the floor here.
Yes, I actually have a piece of his cape. I have a piece of his Superman cape. He's always going to be my Superman. I don't ever take pictures at movie theaters, and I took a picture of the poster at the movie. I don't think I've ever taken a photograph of a movie poster before.
I've lost count how many I've done that.
I'm always like, I'll have it eventually, no big deal, whatever, me. But this one, I took a picture of the poster, and then I took a close-up picture of my eyes, because I was just like, and I sent it to like 3 or 4 people. I was like, this is what this movie did to me. It was so good. Definitely one to take tissues to. It was released for 2 days only. It was the 21st and the 25th of this past month. It was their 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock shows. It was cross country, and apparently I want to say it's going to be on Hulu, maybe. I know that they're planning an actual like streaming release, but I'm not sure. It might not be Hulu. Don't count on that. But it was.
That was my next question. Is I hope it hits a streaming service soon.
I will definitely be purchasing this. It was something that it was just fantastic. They interviewed, they had a lot of archival interviews with him, and Robin Williams makes an appearance. Glenn Close has several interviews. All three of his children are interviewed, and they all talk about kind of the last things that they remember and things that kind of kept them going. And they talk a lot about the foundation that they created and how they are now part of that foundation. The youngest, not Will, Alex, and I'm terrible. Anyway, the youngest son, he passed when Christopher passed. He was 13, and when his mother passed, Dana Reeves, she was 14. So he talked about how his siblings kind of stepped in, and because he was 14 years old, and all of a sudden he's alone. And so it was a very good look at what a single moment in time can, and how it can affect everything in your life. And Glenn Close was particularly a good interview. It was very interesting to hear like what she had to say about a lot of the things. It was really, really well done, and I can't say enough about it, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, so I won't. But definitely get a chance. If you get a chance, you should take a look, watch it. Take tissues.
Yeah. So buy it for you then, Lacey.
Do what?
This is a buy it movie. That's how you'd rank it.
Yes. I will probably stream it until it's like, if it streams first, I'll probably stream it first and then also buy it.
Yeah, I mean the Christopher Reeve story is something of amazing, and what he did even after his accident. So and a great time for this to come out because Superman is really about to hit it big in the theaters next year in 2025. Mm-hmm. So
and his son, his youngest son, who's actually he's a reporter in real life, like IRL. James Gunn actually contacted him and asked him if he wanted to be the reporter in the new Superman movie. So he's
very cool.
Very cool. Going to be in the new Superman. So that's really cool.
Good very call. Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, up next, Kevin, this is something that hit Apple TV Plus. This was actually supposed to go out in the theaters, but Apple decided to hold it back and put it on Apple TV Plus. Retuning George Clooney and Brad Pitt, which is usually you guys combo you cannot go wrong with. They have a long history of films together. I have not had a chance to watch this yet, Kevin, but I know you did. Tell us about Wolves.
Yeah, this is on my radar. My dad wants to see it too. I was very curious about this film because I love when these guys are together, whether it's in interviews or the famous practical joke history they have with each other through all the films. It is hilarious. Definitely like Google the Graham Norton show interview with George Clooney and the stuff the stuff that he did against Brad Pitt for practical jokes was great. So I was very curious about this film, and basically what they are is they're two fixers and they're hired by this apartment building that has kind of a nefarious feel to it with the clients that go there and the stuff that happens, and whatever bad stuff happens, like if there's a body to clean up or anything like that, they go in and fix the crime scene and try to get people out of situations. And that's exactly what happens here. Something bad happens in this hotel, and they end up crossing paths, coming to the same scene. And Amy Ryan, who I love, she is the person that needs help. And there's like a mysterious person that's kind of behind the scenes, and they're trying to basically clean up this supposed crime scene. But then it kind of gets into it. It kind of gets into where they are also against this Croatian mob as well that this story takes them to, and stuff happens between that. I'm not going to give away too much, but it was very fun to see the chemistry between these two guys. My only issue with the film is that it takes place pretty much in one night. So you don't really feel like, and it's in like the New York area, I guess, if I remember correctly. So it feels kind of like, what's a good way to put it? I wanted to see them, like, I want to see these two more of an ongoing adventure, not like a one night, all the crap hits the fan type of situation, which is what this kind of was. But they had some really good moments together that saved the movie for me. What's that?
So was it like the Breakfast Club where you just want to see what happens the next day at school?
Exactly. I would love to see these guys play these same characters. Like if this is a start of a franchise, make it happen, because the way they have a history together, although they play that off at first until other people start realizing what's going on and this bad relationships they have with the mob and this kid that's in the film as well that is in there for a particular reason. And I'm not going to spoil why that kid's in there, this kind of teenage kid, but he's crucial to what happens in the story. But if it was any other two people, I would say pass on this film. But because it's these two guys and they have so many fun quips and stuff, I could watch these guys just do like a sitcom together. They need to play these same characters in another film, but we need to get them into more of a, maybe more of an international setting or something else that's not all in one night. Because I would love to see something kind of drawn out and they're having to also survive together or work together. It was great. The back and forth was awesome with these guys. So I'm just going to call it a stream it for right now. If it had a little more oomph to the overall story, it might be a buy it for me, but definitely worth streaming.
Well, realistically, it's Apple TV Plus, so nobody's buying it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I don't, I'm glad it dropped on Apple Plus TV as opposed to see it in the theater, because I don't know if I saw it in the theater, I would have gone wait for streaming.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems fair.
It would be nice, just based on the description you gave, it would be nice to see Harvey Keitel as a cameo in the next one. Just saying.
Harvey Keitel?
Yeah, because he was the wolf in Fiction.
Yep.
Well said, yes.
Now, the next thing we're going to talk about, we're only going to preview this a little bit because we've got some bigger plans for this series here in a little bit. But yeah, it's.
You want to say it for the audio people?
Yeah. I was going to get to it. The Penguin, the HBO Max original series based in the world of the Matt Reeves Batman film. So Colin Farrell coming back in this role. 2 episodes have aired of the time of this that we're.
I think the third one's dropping tonight. Actually, is it Fridays?
Actually, I think it's Sundays. I believe it's
Sundays now. Okay, gotcha.
That it drops. Colin Farrell is basically unrecognizable as the Penguin. The makeup job is so fantastic. But Kevin, I'm just kind of give me a little bit of what your initial thoughts are on this. Like I said, we're going to be diving deeper with a good friend of the network here. We'll let that surprise out of the bag a little bit later. And of course, too, a little Highlander loving this because Clancy Brown's in this.
Yeah, this is of course the character Oz Cobblepot, I guess, that Colin Farrell is reprising from what we saw in the Batman Matt Reeves film. And I got to tell you right now, I can't believe that this is Colin Farrell. I don't know if people know this or not, but he's a good actor. And the makeup department does a fantastic job, but he does a fantastic job as this is basically, if you want a mob series, this is all about the mob that is dealing with the after effects of what happened in the Batman movie when the Riddler basically really did a number on Gotham, especially how it destroyed a lot of the lower income people's neighborhoods, and how it is about a power grab between the underworld of mobsters that fly under, not always, but fly under free of the cape of Batman. And you're basically seeing rival mob bosses trying to grab the power. And he is not a mob boss. He's an underling. But he's so smart, and he's doing a great job of playing people against each other. And he has this young kid who tried to steal his car, and he kind of recruits him to his side. But I got to give a shout out to Christine Milioti, who plays Sophia Falcone, the daughter of the assassinated mob boss from the film. And she is crazy cray because she came out of Arkham Asylum, and she's awesome in this. But a shout out, like you said, Kyle, we have, of course, Highlander alumni, the Kurgan himself, Clancy Brown as Salvatore Maroni, one of the rival gang bosses that the Penguin they're working against each other. And I got to tell you, Colin Farrell is amazing in this. My wife has jumped on this too. She loves it. If you love mob movies, mob series, this is the series to get on. And yes, we will be revisiting this soon on Culture Clash.
Yeah. The one other thing I'll say about this is, and I want to see if you agree with me, Kevin. Colin Farrell's playing the penguin like that old school mobster style.
Oh God, yes, yeah, it is. He's so good in this, so good.
Yeah. So we will be revisiting this. Yep, Lacey.
I'm interested to see Kristen Milotti in a more dramatic role because most of the stuff I've seen her in has been fun.
God, you should watch this. She's amazing in this. It's scary too.
Right on. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yep. Up next, I watched a documentary that I have been very interested about. Adam O'Brien has jumped in. He's bringing a little bit of mullet humor to it. What does Benedict Cumberbatch call it, referring to the penguin?
Yes, penguin.
So, I am the kind of the professional wrestling aficionado here at the Fandom Podcast Network. Bill Simmons, Kevin, who you've become familiar with through The Ringer, him, David Shoemaker, and Sean Fennessy produced a 6-episode documentary about Vince McMahon. And what is so interesting about this is Vince McMahon is a person who does not put himself out there personally. He's always the character. He's always the businessman, the showman, things like that. And they got him to sit down and talk a little bit about his life. But the interesting thing that happened while they were filming this documentary is all the allegations of sex trafficking and the sexual allegation came out during this. They were filming this documentary, and he canceled all his interviews of this documentary after that happened. Now, they had enough footage to create this documentary. And even if you're not necessarily a professional wrestling fan, but you know the influence of professional wrestling, especially in the 80s, the Hulk Hogan era, or even in the early 90s with like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, to see the history that's here and to kind of relive that time frame and some of the things that were going on in that time frame is really interesting. And to see this man psychologically and his relationship with his children and his attitude towards everything, it's one of the more interesting psychological documentaries I have ever watched. And like I will tell anybody, even if you like grew up a professional wrestling fan, you don't watch it now, but you remember this time. This is just, it's so bizarre to watch. And it's, you watch this and you realize just how not right Vince McMahon is and the psychological problems he probably has.
I was wondering about it. By the way, shout out to Adam. He says, well, real or not, the reality of the stunts the wrestlers do is amazing. And they put their bodies on the line for a story to be commended. Yeah. Mickey Rourke, the wrestler, is a good example of that. But I had a question for you, Kyle. So I'm not the wrestling guy here, but McMahon always came across as a very kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Egomaniac?
Yeah, but also like not necessarily liked, but he seemed like a necessary evil to where he put wrestling on the map. But a lot of people don't like him, or is that kind of a character thing, or is it because of him, you know?
Well, that's part of this documentary is how do you differentiate the character of Mr. McMahon from Vince McMahon? And they talk about how hard that actually is because he's in that persona almost all the time. And the family dynamic is so crazy. You feel for his son. His son comes out looking the most sympathetic of everybody in this because he's just looking for recognition from his dad. And you see this and it's crazy. And like you said, Kevin, it's a necessary evil. And in one of the interviews I heard about this documentary, one of the creators, I think, nailed it. Vince McMahon is a modern day P.T. Barnum.
It's a good way to put it. Yeah. the circus that the wrestling, thing is, but shout out to Chris, by the way, Ghostbusters quick response unit. He is checking in. Good to see Adam there as well. Thank you, sir.
So I would recommend this as a stream it. It's 6 episodes. It really pulls you in. They've got some great interviews with a lot of former professional wrestlers. Hulk Hogan's a big part of this. Bret the Hitman Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. Lacey?
Do we know if the sexual allegations were proved true or false?
They are still under investigation as we speak. Yeah, this is current. Like I said, they started filming this, I think, in like 2019, 2020, and between Vince's schedule and everything that happened, and then a lot of other things. But the more curious thing about this with this documentary, and I'll kind of leave it at this. Like, for me, it's a stream it. I think you should check it out, even if you're just a passive wrestling fan or interested in that time frame and what that because they talk about Hogan going to do Rocky 3 and a lot of other things. And it's really interesting behind the scenes things that some people have never known before. But it's very interesting because starting the 1st of January, WWE Raw moves from the USA Network to Netflix. So it's very interesting. This document comes out when WWE is about to become a flagship thing for Netflix.
So this is a Netflix documentary as well.
Yeah, this is a Netflix documentary, but it was produced by Bill Simmons, who, like I said, the Ringer Network did a lot of those ESPN 30 for 30 documentaries. So it's very well done. It's definitely worth a check out as far as if you're just looking for an interesting psychological profile. And it's somebody who truthfully did have a big part of shaping a lot of culture in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s.
I think I might reserve my viewing until after we find out if he's innocent of the charges. I don't know.
What I will say about this, Lacey, is there's other things that have happened with him that will shape your opinions on those charges too. Is, like I said, it's just an interesting psychological profile.
Gotcha.
It's more than anything. But guys, with that is everything we have seen. But we aren't done yet because we still got to talk a little time travel. That's right. We are returning to the Fandom Podcast Network Time Travel Spotlight. All year long, we've been highlighting different films and things that have involved time travel, whether it's been here on Culture Clash or even some couch potato theaters that we have out there. But when we were discussing things, this one kind of slipped through the cracks, and we were reminded of it. And that movie is Freejack. Yes, the 1992 film starring Mick Jagger, Emilio Estevez, and Anthony Hopkins, as well as Rene Russo. Kevin, when I brought this up, you got a little bit of excitement going on.
Oh God, yeah. This is one of my I guess you could call it a guilty pleasure. And I know Adam loves it. It's one of those kind of films that people have forgotten about, and part of it's because I think it's only on DVD. And it's hard to find streaming. Every now and then I think it will pop up, but I've always had the original, the flip case thing that Lacey also has too, the DVD with the cardboard cover. Remember these, and the proof of purchases down the inside of the spine, those things there. That's all I've had of this film, and I remember seeing it in the theater when it first came out.
Yeah. Well, just real quick here, I'm going to give you the IMDb description of this film.
Hold on real quick, Kyle, before you do. I'm going to touch on this shortly during this segment, but Chris says, "Oh, Mick, you need to stick to singing." I got thoughts about that.
Yeah,
I too have thoughts about that.
Yeah, I think we all probably have thoughts about that. But the IMDb description: bounty hunters from the future transport a doomed race car driver to New York City in 2009, where his mind will be replaced with that of a dead billionaire, thanks to something we call the spiritual. What was it? The spiritual switchboard.
The spiritual switchboard, sure.
Yeah. So, guys, we are talking Freejack here. This movie has a lot of interesting things about it, but an interesting cast starting off with it. But when was the first time you said you saw this in the theater, Kevin? So,
oh yeah, Emilio Estevez was still a thing, popular, and he was doing other films as well, and of course he was kind of on a little hot streak. Anthony Hopkins too, he was as well. Rene Russo was on the rise. The big surprise though was Mick Jagger. What? And keep in mind too, I'm gonna get a little personal here. I'm a huge Rolling Stones fan. My mom was a huge Rolling Stones fan, and for those of you that don't know, I was actually conceived at a Rolling Stones concert. And I finally got to see Rolling Stones live back in 1989 for the first time, where Guns N' Roses and Living Colour opened up for them. And then I saw Rolling Stones again in the early 90s. So they were still relevant. They were still out there doing their stadium tours. And so I was also a big fan of Mick Jagger going into this. And I've had this on VHS, and then eventually I felt like this DVD's been out since the movie came out or whatever it was, because that's the only release that I've had of it. But yeah, and I thoroughly enjoyed this film.
Real quick, Lacey, too, I got to talk about, because there's some people in this cast. You obviously have Emilio Estevez and Mick Jagger, Rene Russo, Anthony Hopkins, but you also have David Johansen, Amanda Plummer, Frankie Faison, John Shea, Esai Morales was in this film as well, and of course, a cameo by then Mick Jagger wife Jerry Hall. But there were some people in this film, Lacey.
Yeah, I was gonna make sure that you mentioned Esai Morales. And I don't know if you've been on IMDb recently, but if you look up David Johansen, who at the time I think went by Buster Poindexter, or around that time, he currently looks more like Mick Jagger than Mick Jagger does. And not in a bad way. Like I was looking through it and I was like, oh well, no, Mick Jagger. Wait, why do they have two pictures of Mick Jagger? And I was like, oh, that's not Mick Jagger. I thought it was the same person.
So I want to touch on the cast here real quick. So you brought up Esai Morales. Yeah. My mom. I remember going back and remembering some of his earlier stuff, but recently he showed up on the first season of Ozark, and my wife, in so many words, mentioned how hot he was in that series because he's aged very well, especially with the gray hair, and he played like a mob boss in that, which was great. David Johansen, you mentioned, of course, he had an alternate personality character, of course, hot with Buster Poindexter. Mm-hmm. But let's go back in time. Most musicians and fans will remember him as the lead singer of the New York Dolls punk band Glam Scene out of the 70s and early 80s. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of people will remember him as the ghost of Christmas Past in my favorite Christmas movie of all time, Scrooge. And he's kind of gone in and out of films and stuff like that. And he's done a little bit of acting. I loved Amanda Plummer as the saucy nun in this, not taking any crap from Jonathan Banks.
Yeah.
That's a precursor to Honey Bunny. I'm telling you.
Oh, you're right on that. Yes.
That nun left the order, went and met Tim Roth, and then robbed a diner where Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta were like having a bad moment.
Jonathan Banks, I was used to him playing a bad guy because he did that in Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah. And then he comes in, he does a good bad guy in this. And then, of course, we see him, of course, much later in Breaking Bad. He was fantastic in that, in Better Call Saul. But I do want to have the Mick Jagger conversation if you guys want to talk about some of the other cast members first.
Can I just say, if you're talking Esai Morales, you can't skip his portrayal of Slade Wilson in Titans.
Yes, he was phenomenal.
Like that was Titans. A good Slade Wilson. There've been a few. Yeah. I think he's my favorite Slade Wilson right now. Like he's better.
Manu Bennett was awful good as Slade.
He was good. Yeah, but I don't think they gave him enough to do.
That's true. But Esai Morales was pretty, and let's not forget, he was pretty good as the bad guy in the most recent, or in Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, Part 1. Gabriel. So Kevin, let's get into the Mick Jagger conversation. But before we do, I have some trivia, but there's one I want to tell before we hit that. So let's talk about Mick Jagger, because this was Mick Jagger's first dramatic movie as an actor since the mid-1980s with the movie Running Out of Luck and Laughter in the Dark. He was cast in the wake of the Rolling Stones' lucrative 1989-90 Steel Wheels tour, which was accompanied by their album of the same name.
I saw that tour.
So let's get into the Mick Jagger of all this. Mr. Reitzel.
Okay. All right. So he dabbed a little bit into acting. Let's just put it out there on the table. He's not a great actor. Okay, but you're not watching Mick Jagger for his acting. I'm just going to say that right now. Okay. Obviously you know him, of course, from being the lead singer of the Rolling Stones, but I got to tell you, I really enjoyed him in this film. I really, really did. Yes, he's not a good actor, but there's something about him that looked really cool on screen. He played, of course, one of what were they? The bounty hunters that are hired to find and retrieve
bone something.
The bone trackers.
Yeah, bone trackers. Yeah, bone trackers.
I think that's what they're called. Where he's hired by the Anthony Hopkins character to find these Freejacks. And Freejacks are known throughout the city, where it's become a practice where you grab these people that are about to die, transport them, and then, change them into younger bodies or whatever, you want to do with them. I got to tell you, though, every time you see him on screen, the way that he's dressed, the way that he delivers his lines, I'm drawn to it because I'm not just because I'm a Mick Jagger fan, but he's got that certain look. He's got the swollen jowls. He looks like someone that, could be a badass, and he always kind of had that role. I thought he was kind of charming, especially when he figures out what's happening at the end with Emilio Estevez character, and then he kind of becomes an ally. He just looked cool. Yes, I know he's not a good actor, but I didn't care. I like seeing him on screen, and I'm going to say this right now. I wanted more Mick Jagger in cheesy action films later on, and I wish I would have got that.
Okay. First of all, his character's name in this is an all-time classic, and Victor Visendak.
Yes.
But I mean, he's not. Let's be honest with you. He's fun in this because he looks like he's just playing it over the top, and he's kind of. Yeah. I'm turning myself up. I'm not really acting hard here. I'm just having fun. It's not a greatest performance, but there is the presence about it and it being Mick Jagger. But Lacey, I know you have some thoughts about Mr.
Yeah,
Jagger too.
I'm not a music person. We all know this. I know you're gonna laugh, but I think truly right now in the moment, I couldn't tell you a Rolling Stones song. Okay, I'm not trying to be that person, but off the top of my head in this moment, I'm just blanking. So for me, I mean, I knew who he was here and there, but this, I think the character was written in a way that I think that his acting for this character was perfect because I think that's the character they wanted him to play. So I don't think he's as bad an actor. No, I have not seen any other of his other movies. I don't think. I may have. But I think that this was written in a way that he played it how it was intended. Which is the sign of a good actor, realistically.
Lacey, can I interject another piece of trivia here about this? On an episode of How Did This Get Made, it was revealed that Mick Jagger was offered this movie 1 week before shooting was scheduled to begin, and he decided to do it on the spot based on the short description of the plot. He has also said that if he had been given a few months to read the script and think about it, he probably would have declined.
By the way, I haven't watched it yet, and I don't know if Adam O'Brien is still in the chat, buddy, but he also did in 1970. He played the title role of Australian legend Ned Kelly. I don't know if it's any good, but he did do that Western, and I am curious in checking that out. I love him in this. I wish we could have gotten more Mick Jagger in roles. I think he's fun in this. I'm just gonna say.
I'm not. I mean, again, I haven't seen any of his other films, but based on this role, I don't think he's a bad actor. I think that he played the character he was meant to play. I think it was well done. So until I see something else and go, oh, okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and qualify him as an actor that I would watch. Also, I'm interested now in the Ned Kelly because the only Ned Kelly I've seen was
Heath Ledger.
It was Heath Ledger. There was also, I want to say there was one with Yahoo Serious.
Might have been.
Way back.
So, yeah.
I think there was one with Yahoo Serious and then the one with Heath Ledger. I think the first one I saw, I want to say it was Yahoo Serious. Talk about deep cut there. That's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I'm interested to see, you said it was in the 70s. That's something I'll
1970 it came out. Yeah, he did a Ned Kelly film. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, guys, I've got some other fun trivia for this film.
Sweet.
The film was loosely based on the 1959 science fiction novel Immortality, Inc. by Robert Sheckley. The hat that Emilio Estevez wears when in disguise was intended to be the same hat used in Young Guns 2, but the iconic prop had already been claimed by Lou Diamond Phillips on completion of principal photography. Damn you, Lou Diamond! And this next piece is going to lead into something I know you guys want to talk about. The racing footage was filmed at Road Atlanta using Formula Atlantic cars. And I know you guys want to talk a little bit more about the locations this movie was shot at.
Lacey, I want to set you up for this, because when I first saw this film, I didn't know where it was filmed. I was living in California. I hadn't visited Georgia yet. I lived in Georgia eventually for 12 years. And when I did a rewatch of this, going, oh my God, this is all filmed in Georgia, most of them anyway. And I recognize a lot of these filming locations, but you know them a little better than I do.
Yeah, I will say that I actually went onto the AFI website and looked up this to see if I was right, because I saw a lot of things and I was like, that's okay, yep, nope, yeah, okay. And so I went on the AFI website and they
well, hold on. What you mean by that was you were recognizing the filming locations.
Yes.
Okay.
I was recognizing locations and stuff.
Yeah.
Turns out that I lived in a condo complex called the Cotton Mill downtown Atlanta. And that cotton mill was used as the location for anytime you see them running through like the buildings with the tall, giant interior windows and like the machinery and stuff inside, that's all from the cotton mill. I lived in, there's one scene where I saw him run and I was like, hey, that's my window. I was like, that's my condo. I was like, that's insane. I was on the 4th floor, so he was like coming through this way and it like did a pan up and I was like, that's me. And then the Road Atlanta stuff. I mean, I used to babysit for someone who was a fast car driver, so I was always down at Road Atlanta with the kids while he was going around the track and stuff. So there's a lot of downtown Atlanta in there. You can see the old Riches building, which is no longer, well, it's still there, but it's no longer the Riches building. You know, you can see where the Omni used to be, no longer there, replaced by the Georgia Dome. That's no longer there. Now it's Mercedes-Benz Stadium, like all of that stuff over next to, you know, where currently it's Phillips Arena and Mercedes-Benz Stadium and the Georgia World Congress Center. All that stuff is over there.
Anyone who's been to Dragon Con will recognize some of these locations.
Yes. There's a scene where they're going like real. They're doing that. One of the chase scenes goes right underneath the sky bridge between what is now the building 2 of the Merchandise Mart, where
and the big escalator as well.
The escalator is Peachtree Center escalator from MARTA up into Peachtree Center, where everybody gets their lunch at Dragon Con. The MARTA station, where you first see all the cars that look like super awesome fun bubble cars. When you first see that's down at 5 Point Station. There's a lot of Atlanta in this movie.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I have a little bit of other trivia because I'm going to call this. Okay, was this a bad movie trivia? Because we talked about
people
what Mick
think
Jagger.
So.
Sorry, I just saw what Ghostbusters quick response said about Yahoo Serious. He says, "Okay, compared to Yahoo Serious, Mick is an Academy Award-winning actor." Oh, poor Yahoo.
Okay, so I talked about what Mick Jagger said if he would have had some time to read the script.
Mm-hmm.
Sir Anthony Hopkins called it a terrible film in a later interview.
Mm.
And
hey, he took a paycheck for it. Come on.
Oh, yeah. I was working for a paycheck. According to reports at the time of the production and interviews with some of the members of cast and crew, the test screening was disastrous. Producer Ronald Shusett was brought in to reshoot almost half of the movie and add more character scenes and humor. Emilio Estevez said that director Geoff Murphy let them down by focusing too much on the action.
Yeah, I find these stories fascinating when they come in and have to basically reshoot most of the film. And that's why they have these test screenings. I've only been in one test screening, and changes were made to the original film. That was 12 Monkeys. And I find this fascinating because yes, it's going to be an action film, but in order for an action film to be fun, you have to have some good character moments. If you can throw in some humor as well, it's great. And I think they did a good job of that. I'm kind of curious, like, was David Johansen's character highlighted more in this when you see him in the future, as well as some of the other moments, between Vicendak and Emilio Estevez character, or, the Donald Faison character. I'm really curious to figure out like how much was reshot, because to me, it came out as an entertaining film. Lacey?
Frankie Faison. Donald Faison was on Scrubs. Yeah. That's hilarious, though. I could totally see him doing this role in an update. If they wanted to do an update, I would totally watch that. because
thank you for the correction, but yes, the remake. Let's get Donald Faison on it.
And let's put Zach Braff in Buster Poindexter's role and just call it. I mean, that would be amazing.
There we go. Okay, guys. I actually have some time travel trivia for this, but this movie has some really interesting real life time travel trivia. So, poor test screenings and reboots bumped it from its original fall 1991 release date to 1992. Curiously, the film's premiere event was held nearly a month after it had already been released in theaters. Now, you don't see that often. And then a little bit of sad irony, in the future 2009 New York skyline shown, the World Trade Center towers are seen still standing.
Yes.
In that. So,
yeah.
But guys, let's get into some of the actual time travel aspects of this. The time travel method used in this movie, futuristic tech. They pull the body swap on right as Emilio Estevez's character is about to go.
The man out of time cliche. Yes.
Yeah. And that was it. And that is the man out of time and body swap even a little bit here too. Mm-hmm. And we'll get to that, but yes, so let's start with the futuristic tech man out of time aspect of this, because Emilio Estevez, they pull him out right when he's supposed to die. They bring him to the future. He's dead. They restore him to save some things, but it goes a little awry and he escapes and becomes what they call a Freejack. What did you guys think of the aspect of the concept of this Freejack and the using the futuristic tech here?
Lacey, you can go first on this.
Yeah, it did remind me of Sound of Thunder, because they deliberately knew, in order to prevent time, I don't know, fissures or whatever you want to call it for this one, in order to prevent, problems, they deliberately step in right at the moment, grab him out, just like they did with the dinosaur in Sound of Thunder, which is one of the first time travel ones that I did with you guys, where they step in, shoot the dinosaur right before they know it dies, and so they're not actually changing anything. So I liked that aspect of it. I thought that was interesting. I was a little bit unsure as to how the bone jacking or whatever was supposed to work, because it was supposed to make him not work. Anyway, it was cool. I was confused about why they never gave an explanation as to why he retained his memory when he wasn't supposed to. That was interesting.
I got thoughts about that.
Yeah. Cool.
Kevin, what about you as far as the technology bringing him there and the role?
I like
man out of time.
Okay, I like the concept of why they decided of how they're incorporating this time travel here. So basically, and when you look at Frankie Faison's character and all the other people, they realize, oh, he's a Freejack. He's a Freejack. So this is a common occurrence in the future, where they know there's this ability to go grab someone from the past, take their body, and switch out the consciousness if people want to basically become immortal, transfer their own consciousness into this new body of someone that was supposed to die anyway. So apparently this is common knowledge that we find out in the film, right, guys? Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I actually like this idea, and I find it fascinating because, when you go back and look at time and old video and old movies and stuff, now we've got so much stuff on YouTube of actual people dying, or weird stuff happening. How do you choose your target nowadays? So, this takes place in 1992 when he crashes, but then it jumps to 2009. How do you choose who you're bringing back without changing too much time here? And the character that he's playing is not a famous race car driver, but someone that's on the rise. So how is that weird? Shouldn't you choose someone that's not famous or not on the radar? Of course, we didn't have YouTube at the time. We didn't have all this saving, we're kind of becoming immortal when we do these videos because we're going to be around for a long time. But I thought that was a very cool concept that you go back, you transport someone, and I'll get something. I'll dive into the retrieval of the what do you call it, the bone jackers. I'll get in that in a second. But you guys want to say something about the time travel aspect, Kyle?
Well, I just want to bring in too, at least with his selection of Emilio Estevez's character. Remember, Anthony Hopkins also selected him for personal reasons because of the relationship with Rene Russo's character and Anthony Hopkins being in love with Rene Russo.
Okay, but that's one case though. I and that's part of the thing we can get into later. But I'm just talking about the concept that the people in general know what a Freejack is.
Right. But you figure that in a spot where in 1991, when it was supposed to be set, when there was no, YouTube and all that kind of stuff,
Internet,
it would have to be someone where you knew for a fact where they died, when they died. You'd have to have, because remember, they brought up the video and centered everything on the video. They had to have footage. And in 1991, you don't have footage of somebody dying unless it's being recorded for a purpose, which means you're going to have a celebrity, or at least somewhat of it has to be like a televised event or something like that. So I feel like that maybe gives a little bit of leeway on that.
Right.
Plus, I think it's important the aspect of how they died. In this case, it was a horrific accident. If somebody died of cancer, you're not wanting to pull that person.
You're not trying to pull somebody who's doing like chemo, or you're not trying to pull somebody who's 87 years old or whatever. You're trying to pull somebody who's got a long. You want you're looking.
You don't want someone mangled and disformed, or at least not. You want to pull them out before that happens. You want
an athlete who's on the rise, who hasn't had an ACL replacement or too much smoke inhalation from driving cars for too long.
So, guys, real quick, let's talk about the body swap aspect of
it. No, not yet, Kyle. I want to get to the Bone Jackers yet. I got to talk about the Bone Jackers because you brought up a question here.
Wait,
so let's talk about this for a quick here. This is what Mick Jagger does. He's basically hired to do this job, and he has this convoy, and there's this special truck that has the transporting receiving room of when they grab Emilio Estevez's body, and they have to resuscitate him. So not only are they going into a bad part of town where originally this race was, and there's all these people that are kind of like also uprising against the rich and the Bone Jackers, and that's what saves Emilio Estevez's character in the short term here, is that they transport his body at the time he supposedly dies into this special machine that's being towed by these cool ATV characters, people with guns, and they have to resuscitate him. But then then once they find out that he's alive, then they have to do this weird machine on his head that could kill people to knock him out for the body swap. And I think that's an important part of this story, because then that's when the convoy is attacked, and Emilio Estevez is like, what the hell's going on? And these doctors are trying to put him out with this weird ray electronic gun, and he ends up turning it against them and killing some of the guys, or at least knocking them out and then escaping him. And I think that's an important part that we have to talk about here.
I just want to bring up in this picture too, we see Emilio or Mick Jagger working an early version of a GoPro camera.
And Chris says Mick had a bitchin' ride. Yes, these ATV characters are cool.
He is driving around in Sebastian from The Little Mermaid. Look at the headlights. It looks like a crab. It's the funniest thing. It looks like a crab. It's
Kyle, move.
It's a crustacean.
Where's that car?
Go back two. I think. Go back one more. Nope, one more. That one. Yeah. There it is. Look at the. That is Sebastian from The Little Mermaid with wheels.
That's so funny.
And that's
that's what the Bone Jackers are. Is they're basically kind of bounty hunters that are to retrieve these transported bodies from the past.
Right. Same thing. They have to go get the Little Mermaid before her legs turn real.
There we go. Well, okay.
Please
guys.
Don't ruin this movie for me, Lacey. I don't want to think of The Little Mermaid when I watch this again. It's too late. It's too late. Never mind.
Okay, guys.
Well played.
Let's get into the other piece of this, which is the actual body swapping. And I'm just going to ask you guys straight up. Is Emilio Estevez about to get body swapped, or is he playing a giant game of jacks?
Giant game of jacks.
Because here we see the device that is supposed to transfer Anthony Hopkins' subconscious mind, which has been stored into this computer, into Emilio Estevez. And here we have the scene here where that was kind of attempted to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in during this, the machine gets shot, and obviously it wasn't enough time for the full transfer to happen here. But
well, hold on, back up here, Kyle.
Uh-huh.
You have to make this clear with the movie. Emilio Estevez is being tricked into something else what Anthony Hopkins is really trying to do. But then was it Emilio Estevez realized kind of like what's going on with this? It's not really what he thinks it's going to happen.
Right. But at this point, he's fully well knows that there's about to be a switch and he doesn't want to deal with it. Like, he's trying his best not to do it. They're holding him, gun to his head.
Yeah. And also Rene Russo is also being held hostage as well. But let's be honest, Kyle, this is the low point of the film. This is what most people will call like, this is not the good part. They should have been executed a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I will.
Am I wrong to say that?
No,
I mean,
you're not wrong to say that at all. But so you guys, let's talk about a couple of things here. How did time travel change things in this film? Because I think there's three things that it kind of did. Okay. Assuming a new persona, which basically Emilio Estevez does at the end of this film.
Should we explain that?
Yeah. As we talked about the body swapping earlier, it didn't quite work the way it was planned. And Emilio Estevez is trying to make it look like the body swap did happen. Didn't do a great job of selling it because Mick Jagger figures it out at the end of the film. But he's taking on this persona. Kevin?
So McCandless, which is Anthony Hopkins. McCandless. He's basically in a coma. And his consciousness is the one that's trying to make this happen so that his body's obviously dead, but he's trying to get his consciousness, and he's living through his consciousness, trying to get into the body of Emilio Estevez. But Emilio Estevez switches that and changes that, right, Lacey?
Yes, I just have two problems with this scene. Okay, first of all, if they are in his head, in his mind, right? Emilio Estevez is physically touching these two pieces, the two handles that he has to touch in order to like do the transfer. But Anthony Hopkins is a hologram. How is he touching the other side? Like, why does he have to touch the other side? That didn't make sense. Also, when you say that Mick Jagger caught him because he wasn't playing it well enough, that scene does not make sense because he captures him making a mistake. He catches him making a mistake and says, I knew you'd slip up once or whatever. And then she says, well, wait a minute. If you're you, how did you get past the code number that you were supposed to give Mick Jagger beforehand? And Mick Jagger's like, oh, he wasn't even close. I let him pass. I let him slide. So Mick Jagger knew that it was him, or that it wasn't him, in the room before all this happens. There's no reason for him to stand over in the corner and go, I knew you'd slip up sooner or later. I gotcha.
Because, and it's alluded to in earlier scenes, Mick Jagger's character, Vasendak, realizes that he's being paid to do this job, basically. And he's understanding the power switch that's about to happen. And he does not like Jonathan Banks' character, who is threatening to take over the whole company, everything that McCandless is standing for, and is hoping that Emilio Estevez's body will give him the vessel to do that. He doesn't like what's happening. So he makes that turn, that switch.
Yes.
And the code that Emilio Estevez character gives to him to prove that he's McCandless, he lies and says it is McCandless, so that Jonathan Banks can't make the power play.
Now, a little interesting fact here for that is that in the script, Emilio Estevez as playing McCandless, he actually gets the first three numbers right.
Right, 962, and then he runs off with 757.
Yeah, and that's when it happens. But that's why you have Mick Jagger kind of having that, his character having like that kind of like, I'm not sure face right when he reads the first three, and then he realizes after that. But yeah, basically, he's like, it's better for me to have this guy in charge than the other guy. It was a business decision.
Yeah.
I agree that
Kyle, don't say business decision. I'm a little raw about that term right now, but go ahead.
I agree that that's the case, that he made the decision in the moment, but I think that the scene afterwards was specifically designed so that the audience is supposed to go, oh crap, did he figure it out or whatever? Because it's possible, because when he was doing the punch code, there was a series of numbers. He could have memorized that code if you were paying attention. If you weren't paying attention to the audience and didn't realize that was a different number, right? So he could have memorized that code and been the guy. So the audience is supposed to see that scene and go, "Oh crap! Is he getting ready? Is he getting ready to figure it out?"
When you rewatch it though, I kind of get the feeling that because the transfer never did take place, and you got Emilio Estevez basically bullshitting Jonathan Banks' character and trying to, I think he's subconsciously looking at Vincendak going, you got to go with me here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Vincendak did owe him one. I mean, he could have shot him and he didn't.
Yes, exactly. He's basically saying, remember when I could have shot you, but I didn't? Help me out here, bro.
Nice.
James Henson says it is the reveal for the audience, but also him being kept on his toes so Banks doesn't figure out the takeover. I think, yeah, good call on that, James. Yeah.
Hi, James. Hi, Karen.
So we talk about assuming a new persona. Let's talk about finding your lost love, because first of all, for Emilio Estevez's character, it's only been 2 days. For Rene Russo's character, it's 18 years. And Kevin, I'm just going to say it. I don't care what age Rene Russo is. She's stunning.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, and a foot taller than Emilio Estevez.
Yeah, well, most people are. Except maybe Tom Cruise. But
yeah, so this was an interesting finding your lost love, Kyle. This is fascinating because she sees her fiance die, and then she goes to live on this future 18 years later. And whether you want to call it coincidence or not, and you brought this up earlier, Kyle, we need to talk about this, that Anthony, his character, McCandless, picks Rene Russo for a reason. Kyle?
Yeah, he's in love. He falls in love with her. He says, he reveals that from the first time I ever saw you, I fell in love with you. And that's why Emilio Estevez's character, Freejack, when he's dying.
Is that weird though, to think that you're going to try to get Rene Russo to fall in love with you by becoming the corpse of your old lover, Lacey? You're like, hand up, what you got?
I'm not doing this right now. I'm doing like this. Okay. What on earth was he like? What kind of, like, and this is definitely a 90s boys will be boys situation. Like, there is no way that concept would be done today. Like, that is 100%.
Are you calling this not plausible?
No, not plausible. Not kosher.
Okay.
Not okay.
Creepy. Yeah.
He's legitimately trying to say, if I wear the ex love of your life's skin, you will fall in love with me, and I'm willing to pay any price to do that. And on top of it, he actually says that he put her on a plane to go do the Japan contract or whatever.
Tokyo.
To go to wherever. So that she would be gone, and by the time she got back, he would be this new, and she would just learn to love. What?
So,
what are you talking about?
say what you're trying to say is that while she comes back from her business trip, he'll be in Emilio Estevez's body, and she'll go, "Oh my God, this is great!" Right?
I mean, oh my goodness, thank you. I'm so excited that the soul and mind and spirit of my loved one is gone, and you're just wearing his skin suit. And obviously, I didn't fall in love with you as a person, because that just makes him. His goal is to prove that she's the shallowest woman on the planet. Because if it's just the skin suit that she's after, I mean, come on.
Quinn Starr says it best. Sets the stage for him to play in Silence of the Lambs.
Yes, absolutely. This movie happened right before he became. He didn't die. He went to another alternate reality and became Hannibal Lecter. Like, what is happening?
Let's just be honest here. This was a paycheck job for Anthony Hopkins. And,
this is totally a Chevy Chase gig. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have one more thing. How to time travel change things. coming back from the dead. We've seen this in some other time travel kind of things where somebody's plucked out of time right before they die, or they're transported in time and there's a cure for them that's there in the future so they can live. Things like that's when I say coming back from the dead, it's like you're on the verge of death, but time travel saves you.
Right. Yeah. Like everyone in Spider-Man No Way Home. Like
that's dimension hopping. That's a little different.
But still, they're plucked in there. Yeah.
Okay. So let's look back on this. So this is coming back from the dead. Emilio Estevez's character dies. He is saved from being dead and brought to the future, Back to the Future, 2009. And what we see in the end is that he ends up taking control of McCandless's empire. Now, with the help of a security force that I'm sure he's going to keep paying to Mick Jagger's character. Mick Jagger's going to keep him in power. But what we see is that we see Emilio Estevez's character seeing this uprising of people against the rich and the powerful. So what does he do in the sequel, if there is one? Does he use this power for good now that he's got his love back and Rene Russo's got him back, the nibble the ear thing? They're together as a power couple. What does he do with this power now? This is where coming back from the dead, do we see it used for good? Does he, stop this power grab of people, being pulled out of the past to allow rich people to become immortal? What happens? That's the big question of this coming back from the dead quandary. Lacey?
I think he gets drunk with power, creates a train that's like hundreds of miles long, and in the very, very back of it, Chris Evans is talking about why babies taste the best.
Do you want to tell us what you're making reference to? Because I know.
Snowpiercer. Oh my God.
Snowpiercer, the movie and the TV series.
Yeah, it's all. I hated this movie. I did not like it at all. I don't. It's not. No.
Do you want to stay on track here and tell me what you think would have happened with Freejack?
That's what I'm saying. That when he literally has the golden ring. He comes back from the dead. He has his girl. He's got like unlimited funds. The rest of the world is like crazy. So
hold on. You think he becomes corrupted?
I think that absolute power corrupts absolutely. There's a reason that's a saying. I think he's gonna it's not gonna happen immediately, but I think that it's gonna turn into a situation. Like, think about it. He's already an extreme. He's a
no.
I think he is. He's an energy fiend. He's a.
I know what's going to happen here because we've seen it too many times.
I disagree with you, Lacey. Sorry.
That's okay. You can. I don't take offense.
I'm sure he's living the good life. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But he's going to try to help other people. But this is a business, which means there's a board of directors. And the board of directors are not going to be happy with how he is running the company. So Freejack 2 is about him, the board turning against him, trying to take him out, and him working with Mick Jagger in Freejack 2 to try to survive.
This is where the influence that Vizendak, Mick Jagger, has to help him take over this board, right? Because I feel that there's a connection to the poor that he really got to experience how bad that it was. I don't think he would be corrupted because you have Rene Russo to ground him and to, find a way to stop this from happening. But also, I feel that Vizendak, he's doing this for a paycheck, because I really feel that once you bring what's really happening to the people below the rich up and realizing how bad situation is, that they're going to hold basically a gigantic charity concert that Vizendak is going to front a band and make sure that people realize what's going to happen.
If you start me up, is that what you're saying, Kevin?
But keep in mind one thing, though. He has to put on airs of being McCandless. And McCandless is a ruthless businessman, right?
Yeah, that's why he has Rene.
He's seen the way. He's changed the ways.
I think he's gonna really enjoy that. And I think that having all that stuff built in is a thing.
Keep in mind, he doesn't look like McCandless anymore, though. So he could change the narrative. He doesn't have to be McCandless. He could use the name. He could use the name to get through the board of directors that Kyle brought up. But then for the public, though, that's not what happens.
Well, the public know he's a Freejack, so they could say, "Oh, the guys, there's a whole, there's whole." But what we've learned here is that Lacey has no faith in humanity.
Oh yeah, I mean,
wait, no faith in what? I didn't hear that, Kyle.
No
Humanity.
Humanity.
Yeah.
Look, have you watched the news in the past, say, 6 weeks?
I know.
We're trying to change things in fiction here to make us feel better, Lacey. Just go with us.
Well,
I don't want the reality that you're probably right, but I don't want that reality.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Speaking of realities and trying to change things, yep. Lacey,
I just wanted to say one thing. Isn't one of your favorite football players in this? We haven't talked about him at all. The African American dude that was her bodyguard. Wasn't that the guy?
No, he's not a football player. No.
I thought that he was one of for some reason. And again, like, you can't ask me about football because right. But for some reason, I thought he was on the list of like former Raiders players that became an actor.
Is that Grand L. Bush? Is that who we're talking about?
Yeah.
Played
yeah. Is that
the one with the sword, right?
Yeah.
No, but he's a really I remember him being in License to Kill, which is one of my favorite Bond films. He was in Die Hard as well. He played one of the agents, the younger agent that died in the helicopter crash.
Yeah, younger Agent Johnson, yeah.
Not a former football player that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just kidding. I'm just
That's quite all right. But speaking of changing things up and changing times and things like that, Kevin, you did a little freejacking yourself because you did a little exploration of 1992 versus 2009. Of course, this movie in its time frame takes place in November of 2009. Of course, we've got such a great futuristic look. Things are looking so bright in the future of Freejack. And come on, the greatest designed cars ever.
I love the bubble cars. The bubble cars are great.
I want that's what the Beatles should look like.
No, guys, I'm gonna make this real simple. You know what the bubble cars remind me of?
Hungry Hippos.
No, do you remember this episode of The Simpsons where Homer's long lost brother comes back and he has the car and he has Homer design the car of the future?
Yep.
That's what these are.
I loved the train buses they had too. I thought those were really cool. They did a really good job of like showcasing these futuristic cars, but then you had like the really cool classic car from I don't know if it was a Duesenberg or whatever it was that McCandless owned, that when he took over the persona of McCandless, he was driving out and then got called out, of course, by Mick Jagger. But yeah, I want to talk about 1992 versus 2009 because of what has happened. So here's some notable things that happened in 92. Bill Clinton was elected president with the strong third-party bid by Ross Perot. Rodney King beating was happening during this time. And we also had Hurricane Andrew that devastated South Florida. Kyle, I feel like you're feeling that again right now.
You were talking earlier about the words business decision being a little sensitive for you.
Yes. Hurricane problems. Yes. Kyle, geez. Also, the first text message happened in 92. Merry Christmas was sent on December 3rd. So there you go. And also in entertainment, we had Sinead O'Connor on Saturday Night Live, infamously ripping up a picture of Pope John Paul. And Atlanta became the first U.S. baseball team to win a World Series game outside the United States. However, the Blue Jays in Toronto won in 6 games, becoming the first non-U.S. based team to win a World Series. And also, I want to give you an idea of what popular movies in 1992. Number 1 was Batman Returns, with number 2, Lethal Weapon 3, followed by Sister Act, Home Alone 2, Wayne's World, Basic Instinct, A League of Their Own, Aladdin, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, and the number 10 movie in 1992 was Under Siege. And some other fun things in entertainment in 92. The Golden Girls series finale happened. The Seinfeld episode, The Contest, the episode won an Emmy and was one of the best episodes graded by TV Guide. Captain Planet and the Planeteers episode came out, A Formula for Hate. The episode was the first in American children's animated series to directly deal with the HIV/AIDS pandemic. The MTV Movie Awards were first broadcast in 92.
Oh, wow.
The Bodyguard, starring Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston, this film became the second highest grossing film of the year. It continued, of course, after 92. Aladdin, very popular at the time. Rage Against the Machine, the rap metal, released their debut album. Bruce Springsteen released 2 albums, Human Touch and Lucky Town. And Silence of the Lambs won Best Picture later for the 64th Academy Awards. And Bill Clinton appeared on the Arsenio Hall show playing saxophone as with the house band. So that was what was happening in 92, Kyle.
That Bill Clinton moment is still one of the biggest moments maybe ever in political cross-culture history.
Yes. Now, let's time travel to 2009, which is where in the future this took place. Barack Obama becomes president on January 20th, 2009. He, of course, is the first African-American to hold the office. The U.S. Airway Flight 1549 crash lands. The plane crash landed in the Hudson River with no fatalities. Also became known as The Miracle on the Hudson, and also later on became a Tom Hanks film.
Sully.
Yes. Swine flu pandemic is responsible. That happens. Samoa Island, the tsunami. 2 large earthquakes struck between Samoa and American Samoa, generating a tsunami that killed at least 192 people. Now, as we jump to the entertainment side of things here, the top 10 films in 2009. Number 1, and this is before, because a lot of these films went past 2009 and 2010 and made even more money. But at the time, the number 1 film was Transformer: Revenge of the Fallen, followed by Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Up, The Twilight Saga. Avatar's at number 5, but ends up eclipsing all of these. The Hangover, Star Trek 2009, Monsters vs. Aliens, Ice Age: Dawn of the Dinosaurs, The Blind Side, and rounded out at number 11 was X-Men Origins. Grammy Awards. Alison Krauss and Robert Plant won 5 Grammys for their album Raising Sand. Lil Wayne won 4 awards, including Best Rap Album. MTV Awards. VMAs. Lady Gaga performs Paparazzi and Kanye West interpretation of Taylor Swift were iconic moments, or excuse me, the interruption of Taylor Swift getting her award. He goes up on stage saying, nope, someone else should have won that one.
Beyonce. Yep.
Beyonce, yes. And Michael Jackson passes away in 2009. Yes. He died of an accidental overdose in Los Angeles, and he was, of course, one of the best-selling artists that year, selling 35 million worldwide after his death. Miley Cyrus releases Party in the USA. The song was released, and she was only 16 years old. And Miley Cyrus, the controversial dance that she does, anthem featuring her performing a pole dancing on an ice cream push cart. The ER series finale happens. The Emmy-awarding medical drama aired its final on NBC. And in gaming, Minecraft, the best-selling video game of all time, was released to the public as Cave Game. So, did Freejack almost hit the spot? Not really when it came to the time travel, but I just wanted to do a 1992 versus 2009, what happened actually in reality. Kind of interesting. A little more dystopian that we saw in 2009, but we can still hit there.
Truthfully, we're only about 15 years off from where Freejack had us being.
Lacey.
I will say that in 2009, the buildings that they had run through had been turned into condos by, I think it was 2003 or 4 when they actually did it. But by the time, 2009, I believe, is when they first started selling them as condos and transferred them from apartments to condos. So that's something that's specific to the actual locations.
You know what's weird about 2009? Of course, we had Barack Obama becoming president and a bunch of other stuff. But to me, it's the year of Avatar. Avatar just takes over as the biggest movie of all time, and the resurgence of 3D movies and I'm just coming at an entertainment point thing, because it's more fun to talk about entertainment than a lot of the reality that was going on. But that's what I remember. Kyle,
you mentioned the fact that it was the ER series finale. You want to feel old? This is the 30th anniversary of when ER premiered this year.
Jeez,
I gotta say, I was just happy that the ending of ER didn't involve a snow globe.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah.
So that's Freejack, and that's there you go.
Yeah. So before any of us get Freejacked here, it's time to get ready to close out this episode of Culture Clash. I just have to mention those DVDs, those horrible Snapcase covers.
Yeah. We need a 4K release, Blu-ray special version. Do we, or do people want to? Should this have been a episode of?
This should have been an Oblivion.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We cannot. This movie can never be put in 4K because Kevin, even you might have to admit this. There are scenes in this that might be some of the worst green screen scenes of all time.
I tell you though, there's some futuristic scenes though I would love to see on 4K. I'd say bring it back, but let's ask the question: if this was Oblivion, should this be saved from Oblivion, Lacey?
I mean,
I think for the Mick Jagger of it.
Yeah, I feel like Mick Jagger is the reason to pull it from Oblivion.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
No,
if it didn't have Mick Jagger, no.
No, yeah. Is
it weird that we're saying that Mick Jagger saved this film?
Yes, I'm saying that Mick Jagger just saved this film from Oblivion, in my opinion.
I just have to say this.
Right, Lucy, you're absolutely right. Yep.
I mean, Emilio Estevez is a lightweight, futuristic drinker. Because it'd take one drink to just plaster him.
Yeah.
That just tell you, don't take strange drinks from Jerry Hall.
This is a guilty pleasure. This movie's a guilty pleasure for me.
But I will say, Emilio Estevez he is a very charming person. Like, you can see that, like, that charm comes across in most of his characters. I mean, between this one and Kirby from St. Elmo's, like, he's just got that kind of that instant. And I think that he's the one out of the two brothers, he's the one who got Daddy's charm.
Yeah.
I think the problem I have with Emilio, and it's not his fault, but
Emilio. Sorry, I had to do it at least once.
Every movie I see him in now, especially his later films, like around this time and forward, I just see Gordon Bombay from the Mighty Ducks.
The Mighty Ducks.
Character from the Mighty Ducks.
You know, okay, so about that, I never got into the Mighty Ducks. I feel like this was him getting older and finding, of course, a new I guess generation and stuff, but what did he do after Mighty Ducks that is really well known in fandom? You know,
getting killed really early in the first Mission Impossible film.
Yeah, I was going to say this movie is has the second best elevator acting of Emilio Estevez after the
I love how you brought up his death in Mission Impossible in the elevator scene, and him acting in this elevator scene, realizing like it's too easy.
Yeah.
Well played. I like that. That was good. But yeah, I mean, really, is this really his Judgment Night? He was in Judgment Night. That was a good movie.
Yeah, Judgment Night was a good movie, but that was such a good ensemble.
That is an Oblivion movie.
Yeah. Oh no, Judgment Night. That's a bold statement, Cotton.
Yeah, my wife loves Judgment Night, and I'm a big fan.
But most of the time,
hold on. In '93, he does do Loaded Weapon 1, of course, a great parody spoof on
National
Lethal Weapon films, and that was a funny movie. But he does that after Mighty Ducks in '92. He does Judgment Night in '93, D2 in '94, Mission Impossible in '96, D3 in '96. Then he just kind of
directing. He started directing at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, the most recent thing I can think he did was the Comeback Mighty Ducks TV show for Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And he does have an episode of 2.5 Men with his brother in 2008.
Yeah. But I think his directorial was The Way, I think it was called, and it was it starred his father, and it was in like Scotland or something. And I haven't seen. I have it. I haven't seen it yet. But it's supposed to be. So really well done.
His last well-known film is it Judgment Night, or I guess the Mighty Ducks. That's kind of where
most recent would be the Mighty Ducks. I think this because it's a franchise and it's Disney and everybody knows all the Disney of it all. Yeah.
I have one thing. I did meet him once, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
I was working in a clothing store in Santa Barbara, where it was called Corb's Trading Post. And it was well known for becoming the 501 denim store. It's where you can get all of the 501s. 501s were so popular in the 90s. Mm-hmm. They were going for a lot of money overseas. And this is when he was married to Paula Abdul. Paula Abdul and him came into the store. She needed to buy a new pair of jeans, and something was going on. He was pissed. And he waited outside of the other entrance to the store, which is kind of like the back entrance to the parking lot. And that's where he decided he lit up a cigarette, and he was not wanting to spend any time in that store while she bought a pair of jeans. I just want to share that story. Soon after, they called it quits.
Okay, guys. Before we get too more lost down the Emilio Estevez rabbit hole, let's wrap up some things here because we've been here for a bit, but now this is Culture Clash, the flagship show of the Fandom Podcast Network for all your fandom news, reviews, and other crazy things. But Kevin, real quick before we close out, there is one thing I did not bring up in the news section that I should have, and it's bad on me, but I have to have your impressions on this because nobody suits up better. The ballerina trailer dropped from the John Wick universe. I need your thoughts.
Yeah, I am really excited that we get more John Wick universe because that was one of the things that the 4 John Wick films really did was they created this assassin world. And Ana de Armas is coming out with the ballerina, which is based on the third film that we see with Angelica Houston being in control of this ballerina / assassin school, I guess is the best way to put it. And I want to clarify, for those of you that don't know, the ballerina movie takes place between John Wick 3 and John Wick 4. And that's important for what you find out what happens at the end of John Wick 4. Because we do get a cameo or appearance by John Wick. We don't know how much scene we're going to get with him, but we do get a tease of that in there. I'm really excited about seeing more of the John Wick world and, of course, what we got in the Continental. But the Continental was a flashback into the 70s, so you don't get current day John Wick world in that, but you get to see how the Continental was set up. So I'm really excited that we get to see more of the John Wick world and the world of assassins in this film. I'm really excited.
Well, I just want to make sure we got that in for you because I know how much you love to suit up for Wick. But
yes, hashtag suit up for Wick.
Yep. Will you be suiting up for the ballerina? Is your tutu ready?
When does it come out again?
Next year. I believe it's next year.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I'll suit up for Wick. Yeah.
So with that, guys, this is the Fandom Podcast Network. We want to thank all of you out there who have been watching us live on our YouTube channel, or if you're listening to the podcast, whether it's off of our fpnet.podbean.com or any of those great podcast catchers out there. We appreciate your support and, of course, listen to all the great shows on the Fandom Podcast Network. I've got to give a quick shout out to my wonderful co-host, as always, Mr. Reitzel. You haven't been Freejack yet. You've managed to stay away from River Rat for this whole episode. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
And Lacey, you debuted the pumpkin for the world to see. And
I did debut the pumpkin. The world debuted the pumpkin.
And for the fact that truthfully, it was only 2 days ago that I saw you last, even though it's probably been months for you. You still look great. So with that, guys, we are going to get out of here. We've got some great stuff coming up on the Fandom Podcast Network, as we talked about earlier. Until then, as always, the most important things around here are respect each other, and even more importantly, no matter what it is, enjoy your fandom. We have done this thing, and we are out of here.